Hi everyone, welcome to the podcast, and today we're going to review The Flash. Oh my god, it's Ezra Miller! Get that!
You didn't tell me they were coming.
It's so fucking dangerous.
Yeah.
So we're here to talk about The Flash, starring Ezra Miller.
Yeah, luckily there wasn't a meet and greet Q&A after our screening.
Did you want to fight? Is that the deal?
Whoa, bro.
Want to fight?
So The Flash, it was,
Metza.
I mean, a lot of people hated the movie. I saw on like Letterboxd, like 1 star.
Half star.
Honestly,
Yeah, whatever it is.
is it better than Batman versus Superman? And yeah, it is.
Yes.
Man of Steel, yeah, maybe.
Probably.
Yeah, it's better than those. That's not like a glowing review of the movie. I just didn't
No.
think it was like unwatchable or like horrendous, but I didn't think it was great or even very good. I have my issues with it. Parts of it I liked. Let me say what I liked. It kind of explores the origin story of the Flash, like in a way, and I thought the way they framed that and that's kind of like the hook of the movie. I thought was interesting. Like it starts with like this own story, but then it's like this time travel plot, right? And the Flash goes back to save his mother, and you kind of see like how the Flash became the Flash, like when he goes back in time. So it's like partly an origin story, just in like that little segment. I thought that was actually like kind of a clever hook. I did enjoy that, and I enjoyed like basically when the movie focused on like him getting his powers again and the origin story. I like when Michael Keaton showed up as Batman. That's like a huge part of the marketing. I don't think I'm spoiling anything for anybody. And I enjoyed that stuff. But then, the movie kind of falls apart from there.
Yeah.
So yeah, what did you think of it?
I kind of am in the same boat. I thought it was fair, based on, just the fact that, Ezra Miller has been, so notorious for their misbehavior. I was kind of expecting like the movie to be a disaster.
Right, that's what I was expecting too.
And it wasn't quite that. Yeah, I agree. It's better, than a lot of the other like recent DC movies. I mean, like, it's not perfect, obviously, but it's not like quite the slog that something like Batman v Superman or the theatrical version of the Justice League movie is.
Yeah. It was fun, but it was also a little too long.
It was a little long. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Doesn't need to be 2 hours, 20 minutes. Way too fucking long. But if it was like cut down to 2 hours, I might have even like raised my rating or something. Like if it was just like shorter, because it's so bloated. At the same time, I didn't find it completely boring. I was thinking of like that Jurassic World Dominion movie in terms of like length, because they're both very long movies, and that movie was just like boring as fuck to me. This one was like, it got me at certain points. Like I was into it, like the origin story, like Michael Keaton, that stuff. Yeah.
And it's cool, because, I mean, it's been... Michael Keaton hasn't played the role since Batman Returns, which is, a long time ago now.
Yeah.
And, it was cool to see him slip back to that role. It's definitely a very hip thing now for, like, these superhero movies to implement a multiverse concept. It's, because it obviously gives an excuse for the actors to return to, these
They've
spots.
taken from like the Spider-Man influence, like Spider-Man No Way Home, where all the old guys showed back up again. Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Willem Dafoe,
right.
Alfred Molina. This wasn't handled as well, but I think people like that thing. I think like the multiverse thing, in a way, it's kind of played out, but also it's like it really just depends on how you do it. If you can like add stakes to it. Because like a big thing is like, okay, if it's a multiverse, then like nothing matters, like everyone just dies, whatever. Like if people die, they just come back to life or whatever. It's about like taking like a more comedic route with it, and I don't know. In ways, the movie did that. In other ways, it was just like convoluted. I felt.
Yeah, it can be. I think, Michael Keaton's presence here wasn't too intrusive. It's not like, it becomes like the Batman movie all of a sudden. He's just a supporting player. And I think, he's, always a welcome presence, so that helped.
Yeah. I enjoyed his stuff the most, probably. And then there's like, I guess some point in the movie, they go to Russia to rescue Superman, or they think it's Superman. It's actually Supergirl, Kara. And that stuff was like... I like Supergirl. It's not like I have an issue with the character. It's just the movie started to kind of drag for me at that part, because there was just like almost too much going on, and it was too much going on, but also kind of boring at the same time.
Sure, yeah.
It just kind of lost me, I feel, at that point. And no offense to like the actress who plays like Kara or Kara.
Sasha... Is that her name? Sasha something?
Sasha Baron Cohen.
I'll look it up.
Yeah,
right
just
now.
look it up. Like, that's fine.
I like to get people's names right.
Yeah, and it's like I liked her in it. It was just like the movie like didn't utilize her that well.
Yeah, Sasha Cal
Yeah, I was just thinking the whole time, like when she's in the Supergirl suit, it's like they probably like just used her face, you know, like it was just like so much CGI.
When she
in the
was
movie.
flying around, you mean?
Yeah, when most of the shots, yeah, there's like a couple shots where she's just like standing there. It's probably like her in the suit, but most of the time it's like CGI, like her entire body, like when she's flying and yeah, like certain action scenes. That's what it
Maybe.
felt like to me. And
I did.
sorry, there's a lot of CGI. That's what I was gonna say.
There is a lot of CGI.
Yeah.
I did like the beat of her punching a missile and making it explode. I thought that looked all right.
Yeah, I like the one take in it where she like fights the guys in Russia.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then she could have just like left the movie, I guess, at that point. I don't know.
They introduced
I
her
don't
pretty late in the game.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the movie is, Barry, the Flash. He wants to, bring his mother back.
Yeah.
She died mysteriously when he was a kid. So
Which they never explain. Like, she just has like a knife at her in the kitchen, or whatever. She has like a knife in her. It's like, okay, how'd that happen? Like, they never like go into that. Like, Barry
Yeah.
never like goes back in time to see like who killed my mom. Maybe I could, but like that's just not even like mentioned
it's
in
not
the
really
movie.
part of the story. Yeah, a lot of people assume that the father killed her, but anyway, he travels back in time, and he basically arrives in an alternative universe, and he meets a younger version of himself, also played by Ezra Miller, and that's really like a lot of the movies. Just like the two Barrys interact. I feel like that's most of it, or at least half of it.
And it doesn't help that one, Ezra Miller is like a groomer of children or whatever, like abusing children, women, and two, like I do find the character like annoying, even in the Justice League movie. In this movie, I just find him annoying. And just like kind of not funny, honestly. There's a lot of like screaming, like when he's in the scene toward the end, like in the flying bat plane or whatever the fuck. He's just like screaming, and the dumb jokes at him, like taking video of car. There's just like a lot of like overacting and screaming and dumb humor.
I don't think he's as endearing a character, say, like Tom Holland, Spider-Man, who's also like a younger, more naive superhero. But I find him a more compelling character.
Again, bringing in like the multiverse thing, and like I guess this is more time travel, but it turns into a multiverse movie too. It's like very convoluted, and it needed to be like more self-aware with its like convolutedness or whatever. Like I made a short film about multiverses or whatever, and that's like. I really play up like the convoluted part of it. Like that's like part of the joke of the movie.
Let me get this straight. You want me to send you back in time to before the fight you had with Ralph?
Yes, I want to go back right now.
All right, freaking hell.
And this is like balancing all these different tones, like trying to be an epic superhero movie, but also this like sentimental shit with his mom and the tomato sauce and whatever. I don't know. It's just like it's like all over the place. The movie.
Yeah, it definitely is. I do like Maribel Verdú as the mother.
Yeah.
I just watched Y Tu Mama Tambien for the first time. It was a great movie.
We'll be talking about that probably next episode or the one before this. I don't know where this is.
Pan's Labyrinth. And she makes a strong impression. But the mother character is really not in the movie that much.
Yeah. There's a lot of like other cameos in it too. Like the guy who plays Aquaman's dad is in it, like also Boba
Fett. Morrison.
Yeah, there's a lot of like little hint, nod, not counting like the stuff at the end with like Superman and whatever. We'll get into that.
There are a lot of
like, and then of course like huge cameos at the beginning is like Gal Gadot and Batman, Ben Affleck's Batman, and I actually really enjoyed like the first little like 10 minutes of the movie. That felt like an actually like good Justice League movie. If you like the people want a Justice League movie, like that's like what they want. Like the Flash is like rescuing a bunch of people. There's a meme going around him like putting a baby in a microwave or whatever, which does happen, but that footage is like reversed actually. And it's like
basically like a hospital building is collapsing, so all the babies fall from the window.
I was kind of chuckling because it's like such an absurd image. It's like horrifying. It's all like Schadenfreude, like watching this woman like see all the babies like fly out the window. It must be like the most horrifying thing for her.
Especially when Ezra Miller appears.
She thought like, oh man, it's even worse. I'd be screaming too if Ezra Miller showed up. But it's like this ridiculous scene, and he's like fucking jumping around, and it's like tons of CGI. It looks so dumb, honestly. But that's like kind of what I want to see. At least it's like goofy, and not so like self-serious like the Batman versus Superman movie. And that's what I mean. Like there's parts of this that kind of like won me over, but then it loses me again. With it just like convoluted time travel shit that doesn't make any sense. And they introduce like it's like the most predictable thing in the world. I guess spoilers for the Flash if you're looking forward to this. If you're looking forward to this, that's fine. You know, you want to watch it, good for you. You're probably like a kid who loves the Flash, whatever. That's fine, whatever. You know, it's just look up the Ezra Miller stuff maybe later. I'm sure more of that will come out as time goes on. But yeah, it's like he discovers he can go back in time. Bruce Wayne tells him, "Don't go back in time because you can mess up everything," and he does it anyway because he wants to save his mom. And therefore also saving his dad, right? Because he's like incriminated with killing the mom. And then they like introduced this like blue guy who knocks the Flash into like years ago when he was 18 years old.
Is he blue?
It was kind of like blue lightning coming out of him, right? Or something.
Yeah, like he goes so fast that like he's literally like, you know, how would you describe it? Like in another, like kind of like in a nexus to the space-time continuum.
Yeah, something like there's like some kind of visual, and those effects were very weird. And
yeah, it looked very strange. Like you could see like all these different permutations of like, you know, events. Like, you know, I don't know,
the Justice League, like the scene that just happened where they save the babies. You see like a visual of that. It's like very strange. And
yeah, at one point there's an effect of, you know, because it's almost like he's traveling through time. Like his head, you know, it's like a disembodied head. It reminded me of like what's the Thor: Love and Thunder? Like this kid's head just like floating.
Yeah, right. It reminded me of that too, like the effects, right? But what I was gonna say with like the time travel thing, have you ever seen the show Legion with Dan Stevens, and it's made by the guy who did the Fargo show, Noah Hawley?
Yeah,
Hawley.
Yeah.
I actually really like that show, and it's because it's like really fucking weird. Really weird shit happens in it like all the time. Like season 2 has like these robot androids that are like women in spandex, but they have mustaches. And there's like this guy with like a basket head, and there's like all kinds of like crazy like it's, but it, like that's like the point. Like it's so weird that it's like got a personality, right? And there's like musical sequences and like there's a scene that's like a dance number with like the villain or whatever. Anyway, there's like in season 3 of Legion, they introduced like a time traveling girl, and she like can travel back in time. It's like kind of like the Flash, like this visual representation of time traveling, and she like goes through certain doors. But if she goes like too far in the past or like stays in there too long in this like realm, there are these like time traveling demons that will like catch up with you and try to kill you. So it, like gives you some like motivation to like not go too far back or whatever. And I thought that was like clever. I'm like, oh, maybe the Flash is doing that. Like there are these other like beings like in the time travel realm who are like trying to stop him from time traveling, or they try to like mess him up or whatever. Like that would have been cool. But then like the more lame, predictable, cliche route it goes is it's just the Flash from the future who is trying to stop the Flash in the present from, you know, getting rid of the tomato sauce in his mom's you know, grocery cart. So like, and it's like this whole like time traveling thing, and it's like it's not really any kind of clear logic to it. Like it doesn't really make any sense when you like think about it, and it's fun when you're watching the movie, but the more you try to think about it, the more you try to break it down, it just doesn't work. And I don't know, I feel like that usually wouldn't bother me, but it's just like too much in this movie. It's like too convoluted, and it kind of lacks like self-awareness, I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminded me a bit of Lightyear from last year, which also wasn't great. Like, the main character becomes a villain in the future, and it kind of slows things down at the end. Especially since you said like it's, you know, it already runs kind of long. The pun runs.
The point about it being long, it's like a really long movie, but it also drops like a lot of like key plot points and characters. Like the Supergirl and Michael Keaton's Batman just kind of go away at a certain point in the story. Like there's no like any resolution with Zod as well, which is like that felt really thrown into me. Like it's trying to like
Michael Shannon
tie in like Man of Steel somehow into this, and I don't know. I don't really like Man of Steel. No. Also, like that movie is so long ago. Like
10 years ago. At
like,
this
does anyone
point.
care? Like,
yeah, you know, because Zod, the Zod character reappears. It's like kind of almost sort of revisiting events from Man of Steel, But it seems to
Yeah.
rely a lot on your knowledge of Zod from that movie because he kind of just shows up in the Flash.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of context for like his, reappearance.
Yeah, and again, he just kind of drops that too. The movie, it's like, oh, Zod's gonna win no matter what, so let's just go back in time.
Yeah, this
And, like,
timeline's screwed.
yeah, it's like exactly. They're all fucked basically, unless Ezra Miller goes back and removes the tomato sauce from his mom's, cart.
Yeah, I'm gonna kill you, Mom.
Yeah, and then again with the guy who Ezra Miller becomes, or the Flash. I keep saying Ezra Miller.
The old Flash.
Yeah, the old Flash, with the blue lightning, was like all kinds of metal or whatever in him.
Spikes. Stuck in him.
He's like not in the movie for a while.
Yeah, you forget about him.
Yeah, once he like knocks the Flash into 18-year-old reality, like that part with Michael Keaton or whatever, like he doesn't show up at all, and they even have to include like a little flashback of him that's like a second long or a few seconds long, just to remind you he's in the fucking movie.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like Attack of the Clones, or like it takes like so long for Count Dooku to even show up.
Sure.
It's like an hour and a half or 2 hours in the movie. You looked it up earlier, but it's like it takes such
a little
long time.
over an hour. I think,
Yeah, and it takes even longer for him to like actually do anything in the story, right? And this is like it's like the same thing with here. It's like kind of it's kind of off, like the pacing. There's just like too much going on in one part, and then like they're not focusing on this other thing. I'm like, yeah, what happened to like the other guy they introduced, like the blue lightning guy? And yeah, it just kind of like jumps around a lot. Yeah,
because there's really there's no main villain for a lot of the movie. A lot of it's just the Flash, like regular Flash, interacts with Flash B will say like today's the day you get your powers, so he puts the other Flash in its place, but then like it gets reversed, like Flash B gets the powers and regular Flash loses his. But and then it's like a lot of us is like telling them how, like, oh, you can't go to, if you run too fast, your clothes will burn, blah, blah, blah.
And I actually kind of like that part.
Right, yeah,
again,
it
like
wasn't
tying in the whole
bad
origin story.
necessarily,
Yeah,
but,
because it's like, oh, you're explaining it to the audience too, that, these things happen to the Flash. Because, like, we don't know any of this shit. But so it's, like, good to, like, it's like exposition, I guess, but it works mostly. I just really had an issue, like, once Supergirl's introduced, the movie kind of gets, like, it's, like, too much going on. Another thread that's dropped is like they talk about this whole fucking scene. Like old Flash tells young Flash about the time he the events of Man of Steel, where Zod takes over. You see like this son and this father, they're about to be killed. The Flash rescues the son, but the father dies in front of the son. And then again, it's like an hour goes by, and then you see them again toward the end of the movie, like running away from Zod's ship. And then I think they kind of just dropped that, unless I missed something.
They show them again, but it's not really clear that did the Flash just let the father die again. I guess it's kind of irrelevant because he abandons that timeline anyway. But it's just funny. Yeah, it's like a loose thread that's never really resolved.
No, it isn't, and they could have just like cut that out. Like it doesn't like matter much to the movie,
but it's sloppy.
Yeah, it just didn't work for me. The whole ending with like the big CGI battle that's in a giant field. I just kept thinking of the criticism of Man of Steel, like, oh, they're fighting in a city, killing all these people. So this time, like, let's just put it in an empty field.
There's nobody else around.
Yeah, it's just military people getting killed, and that's it. And yeah, it's just kind of boring at that point. And yeah, like nothing matters because they just keep going back in time, and it's like, okay, that's destined to happen no matter what you do. And yeah, I don't know. It got kind of muddled and stupid at that part.
Yeah, the time travel aspect can kind of get played out, and because that can be really fun. I think Endgame did interesting things with it.
Yeah, you said like the emotional beats of the story didn't really work, especially toward the end. I agree with you.
Yeah, I thought they were kind of corny. Maybe in terms of like Ezra Miller. Yeah, I like their performance and Perks of Being a Wallflower, but otherwise I don't have like
they're great, and we need to talk about Kevin.
Yeah,
right. We watched Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah,
them in that wasn't too
very forgettable.
yeah, one of the weakest parts of those movies. And yeah, here I just found them annoying and not funny, just like I do in Justice League. And I just don't like that character. I don't think they play them well. And yeah, all this stuff that's come out, like the unintentional like poking fun at them.
Yeah, right. Because it just opens up, like all the jokes that are possible, and
Right. It's just like
it's so I understand this is the whole argument about separating the art from the artist, but like obviously in this case, the actor's playing a superhero.
Yeah, they're playing a superhero.
And, we have plenty of evidence, allegations of evidence to the contrary, about the person in real life.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. And they're like working in a law office, surrounded by like law people. That's just what I mean. There's like so much of the movie. Like at the end, they're in a courtroom. It's like, like this big trial. And I remember one of the reporters, like when he's outside there explaining how he moved the tomato sauce to the top shelf.
Yeah.
Whatever. There's a reporter who says like, "What about the allegations?"
Oh shit!
I don't think you caught that, but
I guess his first appearance was in Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, because that was only like the second
Yeah.
movie in that whole whatever the
No, I remember.
DCEU. It's like Bruce Wayne's like
it's
passing
like,
out. He sees a flash. But when I watched, I didn't see that movie in the theater. When I watched it at home on TV, I thought I had sat on the remote and fast forward by accident because I didn't know like what the hell is going on. Did I miss something? Why is the Flash here all of a sudden?
And that never really comes into play again, like in any of the movies. Like that's like supposed to be a thing. Oh, it's gonna set up this movie that's gonna happen later, Injustice, Bad Superman, but like never really comes into play. Like,
well, I guess it does in that Snyder cut, like that scene with Jared Leto. I guess that kind of comes up, but you
don't see like Barry ever traveling back. I mean,
right.
There was supposed to be this moment, like in like some future movie that never happened, where you see the Flash actually go back to Batman vs Superman, but that never happened. It's like way too like you guys are being a little too ambitious with your like planning there.
This isn't like a fault strictly with the Flash necessarily, but it doesn't really help either that the DC movies are so fractured now. Like in this movie, we have numerous actors playing Batman, but we know that Robert Pattinson is also playing the role in the disconnected movies, and Joaquin Phoenix is playing the Joker. It's just like it's all over the map.
Right, you can't really make heads or tails of like where this is supposed to be in the universe, or like is this like trying to shift the universe in a new direction now, and that we got rid of all those people by the end of the movie, because at the end of the movie it's George Clooney's Batman.
Right. Yeah.
It's just like okay, so like does any of that matter? Is like Ben Affleck gone?
He might be.
Gal Gadot gone. Like that's probably the last time you'll ever see Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. It's just like.
Okay. I mean, we don't know for sure. I know, Black Adam just came out in the fall, and Henry Cavill popped up again. But now, James Gunn's running the DCU, and he said Henry Cavill's not playing the role anymore. It's like, well, make up your mind, guys.
Right? There's just no
cohesion.
Right. They're just making it up as they go along. It really feels that way. It's like the total fucking mess of a movie in that respect. It was funny, like, because George Clooney's, he's in the universe where George Clooney's Batman now. I was like, so does that mean, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze is in this universe? And that should have been the post-credit scene instead of that stupid shit with Aquaman.
That was dumb.
That was terrible. Funny. They should have had Arnold show up as Mr. Freeze.
Freeze in hell, Batman.
Cool party.
I'll kill you next time.
Now, that would have been great.
People were,
that would have actually been funny. They should get us to
funny.
write these movies. I mean, maybe they asked Arnold and he didn't want to do it. He's like too busy with FUBAR.
Like kind of like how Ezra Miller's reputation is FUBAR. They should bring back Danny DeVito as the Penguin. That would be fun.
They should bring back Jim Carrey.
No,
and Tommy Lee Jones.
Batman Forever, like Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, like those are worse movies than The Flash.
Yeah,
those are terrible.
Uma Thurman,
Poison Ivy.
I would have loved one of them to come back in that. I guess they couldn't get Val Kilmer.
I suppose they could, but it might be a little trickier. I know he was just in the new Top Gun. That was great, but it might be a little harder.
They could have done like the Snowman and dubbed him over entirely with another actor.
That might be like the Snowman's bad. It's not even a superhero movie.
So Ezra Miller is a monster. they're like a total piece of shit.
Pretty much,
They're like they have some like cult and like right? Like
there were allegations of grooming and
They, like,
harassment,
they
reckless
put-
behavior.
they like locked like children in a house and like gave them
something.
like ammunition for a gun or something. Like I'm not. There's like so much shit with their reputation.
Yeah, it wasn't just like not to pick on people. It wasn't like problems with drugs for say something like that. But just like so much malicious conduct. You know,
you could argue
hard to
people like
ignore.
with drug like Robert Downey Jr. He's kind of like a victim of something like in
Yeah,
some way.
That was an impressive comeback on his part.
Yeah. I love him. He's great. Now he's in Oppenheimer, right? But
yeah, exactly.
They're like Ezra Miller. They're just victimizing other people.
It seems that way,
and especially children and women, and like this it doesn't look good. And like we saw this video years ago. We mentioned in I think our like Justice League review or like one of those fucking conversations we did on my main channel. It's like we see a video of him like pushing over this woman. We're like, what the fuck's going on? People said it was like play fighting.
It didn't seem like it.
No, it doesn't. It looks like he just choked some woman out and threw her on the floor or something. It's
it was very aggressive.
Did you want to fight? Is nothing to you? Whoa, bro. You want to fight?
Once, from April 2022, once again, Miller was arrested in Hawaii. This is from Rolling Stone magazine. This time charged with second-degree assault for allegedly throwing a chair at a 26-year-old woman, leaving her with a half-inch gash in her forehead, according to the Hawaii Police Department. This is a lot of this stuff.
Jesus Christ.
Some of you guys probably already have read this.
Yeah, but I just wanted to bring it up because I feel like maybe some people don't know, or they like kind of want to write it off, like, oh, it's not that bad. And they apologized. it's a little too late for that.
Yeah, I think it was like Issa Rae. So it was just the new Spider-Verse was arguing that there's a double standard with them, and there probably is. It's very, and also worth noting that the Batgirl movie was shelved, which is also Warner Brothers, and
which was probably terrible, to be fair.
Possibly,
it looked fucking terrible. I didn't see like any footage of it, obviously. I mean, just from like it's like, okay, no one knows who Batgirl is. No one knows this actress. The movie looks like shit.
Well, she was in the Heights.
Yeah. Okay. That's true.
Possibly, but one that hasn't the movies being terrible hasn't stopped DC before.
That's true.
And two, like you chose to release the movie that has an actual problematic person as the lead.
A monster.
Yeah.
Like that. This one's fine. And it's not the worst movie ever made. Or anything,
it's not even the worst movie I've seen this year.
And I know people think it is, and that's fine. I'm sure there's other people who love it. I know. I've heard both sides.
I can see people enjoying it.
I've known people who said like, oh, I think Ezra Miller is a lot of fun in the movie. I'm like, that's fine.
Sure.
Just, like whatever the fuck you want. I'm not telling you what to like, but it's like, how are you supposed to have a conversation about this movie without like?
It's very difficult.
Or even just like thinking about it during the movie, like when he's putting when they're putting babies in fucking microwaves, and going to court and getting asked about allegations and like.
You're inviting the comparison.
Yeah, the drug line.
The old Flash is telling the young Flash, I could drug you. I forget even what the context was, like to knock him out to get so he could get the Flash powers. I don't know.
Yeah, right. There's a point where it's like, is Warner Brothers like fucking with me here with this movie and like with this dialogue? Like no one thought to cut that out, like of a 2.5 hour movie. Like maybe we don't need the line where they say like, let's drug each other, or like I don't know. It's a kind of a disaster in that respect, and I'm sure in future months, once they make their money, because unfortunately that's like the state of things right now in Hollywood. It's just like no one cares as long as you're making money. I think we'll see more. I think they might get rid of them at some point.
Possibly. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have an issue with it if they did.
Yeah. I don't think
as in like cut Ezra Miller loose.
Yeah, it was funny. There were these people in front of us. They were like really excited. I guess they're big Flash fans. They went like woo woo like a lot. Like when it was like the terrible shot in the trailer. It was like Supergirl and the two Flashes come out. They're like woo yeah. Then I think when the movie like the second it said like directed by whoever
Andy Muschietti.
Yeah, directed by, and then they left like immediately. They didn't stay for the post credits like we did. Yeah, they just like I've had enough of that. It's like funny that like these people who were like so excited about the movie it seemed just didn't like Okay, and there wasn't a lot of audience reactions, honestly.
No.
Not as much as you saw in like Spider-Man No Way Home. And I've
Oh
seen people,
yeah, that was much more.
oh yeah,
raucous
people shit on that
reaction.
movie now. It's like you kind of had to be there because like
I
there
still
was,
think it's a good movie.
yeah, I do too. I really love that movie, but like there was such an energy when that came out. It was like really exciting. People were like fucking pumped for that movie, and they were like cheering and laughing and all the right parts. You know, this
Yeah.
one didn't really hit like that. It wasn't a lot of fun. There's parts
No.
I enjoyed and parts I admire about like, you know, subverting the origin story in a certain way, like making it like go back in time to it. And I feel like you could play around with that more, maybe in a better movie.
Like, you know, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, like I think it handles that element, you know, much better.
Yeah, yeah.
And also even like it reminded me a bit of like, you remember Meet the Robinsons, the Disney movie? It
Uh-huh.
reminded me a little bit of that too, with like, you know, not messing with the past because the kid, you know, was left on the doorstep of an orphanage and he wants to see his mother. Yeah, like similar, you know, and then in that movie also decides to let the past be.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know,
It's probably a better movie. Even though
Yeah.
it's not great.
it's not bad either. It's decent.
Yeah.
And it also, yeah, in the past month or so, we had, you know, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and, you know, Spider-Man Across the
Yeah.
Spider-Verse, you know, both of which I enjoyed much more than
Yeah,
this.
Spider-Verse plays with the multiverse thing in a lot
Yeah.
better way, I felt, than this movie. Like, the whole point of the movie is, like, Flash, don't mess with the past or you'll fuck up everything. So but then at the end of the movie, he just moves the tomato cans to the top of the shelf and fucks up everything.
He
again.
still kind of does mess with the past.
He
in a
does.
way.
It's like
to a lesser extent, but still.
Sure, it just negates the whole point of the movie because he changes everything. Yeah, the Flash character changes everything anyway.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, it's just George Clooney's Batman now. I guess that's not too bad.
Right. It's like, man, you're looking shorter.
They can live with it now. Yeah, and and I don't know. It's kind of like, kind of a whatever movie. I don't feel passionately about it.
Yeah, I kind of wish we were like more on one end or the other. Like, oh, this fucking sucked, or you know, oh, we actually liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we're kind of just like down the middle.
I'd rather talk about like Ezra Miller.
We need to talk about Ezra.
We need to talk about Ezra.
I've still
Miller.
never seen that movie. We need
It's
to talk
good.
about it. Yeah, I'm sure it is. Yeah.
It's better than this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, I can separate like the art from the artist for a movie like that.
Sure.
It's like really good. This one, I what would you rate it?
Like a 5 out of 10.
I'm right there with you.
Nothing too dire, but
Yeah.
not like super positive either.
Yeah.
All right. What was it? So, how would you compare it to Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania?
I like them about the same. I mean,
Yeah, they both had like they were flawed in different ways.
They both have
I'd
flawed
say.
people in them for
Yeah,
like
Jonathan
actors.
Majors, yeah.
Yeah.
But that one I wasn't crazy about either.
No, that one's pretty bad. And they both have kind of the same problems. You know, like weird effects.
Muddled story.
Too long.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's the Flash.
Yeah.
Is everyone satisfied with that? Yeah. Are you
Flash.
satisfied with that, Ezra? Don't come after me, please.
Yeah.
This is just a show.
Leave us alone.
Yeah, please.
And leave other people.
Leave them alone. Yeah, they're definitely listening to this. I mean,
Right.
if they're in jail, they'll have plenty of time to listen to our podcast.
Well, if we end up doing karaoke in Hawaii, we'll keep our eyes peeled.
Yeah. All right. Well, we also saw Transformers: Rise of the Beasts, is the poster behind you that we got, the free promo poster. We actually got that when we saw The Flash.
Right.
Yeah, they gave us that poster. And yeah, this film is about Transformers. Not Michael Bay this time. Michael Bay produced it.
directed, yeah.
Michael Bay produced it, but it's kind of carrying off the Bumblebee movie, which is about like Haley Steinfeld in the 80s and whatever. And then I wasn't a huge fan of that movie, honestly.
I didn't see it.
It
Yeah,
seemed
I
like
know you
most
saw it.
people
Yeah.
like that movie. It does have like a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes or something, which is like a little high
It
for
seems very
for a Transformers movie.
Yeah, we're gonna say it. You know, like obviously Rotten Tomatoes is like, you know, positive or negative. It's not like the Metascore, but even still, it seems a little high to me.
Yeah, for sure. For a movie like that, yeah. I guess they really like Haley Steinfeld.
I like her.
I like her too.
She's got pretty hair,
And
and she's in the new Spider-Verse, which is good.
Yeah, sure. Spider Gwen. But yeah, then they carry off this. Now I guess it's in the 90s and
94. Yeah, that's when
and
it's
it's Anthony Ramos, right, from In the Heights and Hamilton.
yes.
Yeah, and
Honest thief.
Yeah. Well, he is an honest thief.
in the movie.
Yeah,
in
that's
the
right.
Rise of the Beast.
I forgot he was an Honest Thief.
One of your favorites.
Yeah, gotta cover that one day. Yeah, and so he's like a criminal or whatever, but he's trying to get a good job because he's like a veteran, and his brother has sickle cell anemia, I think.
Yeah, sickle cell disease.
Yeah, something like
yeah.
They never say explicitly, but I remember them mentioning sickle cells. And,
his hand is messed up.
yeah, so he's trying to get like money for his medicine, and he can't get a job because there's this scene where like the racist white guy's like, you need to learn to work with a team, and then whatever.
It's a lot of exposition.
Yeah, a lot of that. This like the movie goes on a little too long with that stuff.
Yeah,
it's shorter than The Flash, but it does kind of feel long as well.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with the action at the end. And then there's also Dominique Fishback from like The Deuce and
Judas and the Black Messiah, yeah.
And she's like an archaeologist, and she finds this fucking thing that the Transformers are looking for because like,
it's a key to get back to their home planet, I guess. Yeah, basically.
Then the Autobots come to protect them. Anthony Ramos has to steal it for the Autobots or whatever because he steals Mirage by accident in a car, played by Pete Davidson. We're in a car garage. He steals Pete Davidson.
It's ironic that Pete Davidson's playing a cop.
Yeah, right. That literally just happened. Oh my god! Got like reckless driving or some shit.
I think so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then fun little fact. It's what I think the Williamsburg Bridge. They drive in that scene where Pete Davidson is driving recklessly or
as Mirage
as a Transformer.
Yeah,
and like I recognize the bridge. I'm like, I take that all the time. That bridge. There's even like the little divider that like the cop car crashes into. I'm like, that's like actually how the bridge is. So props to them for that. Like keeping the geography of it and making it immersive for someone who knows that bridge, I guess.
Yeah.
And then so Mirage, he goes to a garage.
Right.
Yeah. And Anthony Ramos comes out, and they all meet with the Optimus Prime and Bumblebee, and there's like another pink girl one who's a motorcycle. And
what was her name? I don't even remember.
Who fucking cares?
I was just wondering if you knew.
It's the girl Transformer.
Right.
And they all like talk about, you gotta steal the key from the museum, and that's when Anthony Ramos goes to steal the key, and meets Dominique Fishback, and that's when the bad Transformers show up. It's not Decepticons this time. It's I think Unicron.
It sounds like Unicorn. Unicron.
You said your dad mentioned the ship looked like with the one from Star Trek.
Yeah, like the J.J. Abrams Star Trek. It was very like pointy. It's kind of like shaped like a teardrop.
Mm-hmm. Once you said that, I'm like, you're totally right. And they fight and. It's like they take the one piece of the key, but it's actually there's another piece of the key that's hidden in the jungle with a bunch of with Ron Perlman as a CGI Transformer gorilla, like protecting Michelle Yeoh was protecting it. She's like a robot eagle,
like a vulture.
Yeah. And then like Peter Dinklage is like the bad Transformer trying to steal the last piece of the key. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's just shit you'd expect.
It's very basic.
It's very basic story that children could follow because it's a movie made to sell toys ultimately. Mm-hmm. And, it is kind of cynical. Like, I didn't like the movie started with the Hasbro logo. I don't even think, like, the original Michael Bay movies start with the Hasbro logo, do they? I think
they might have. I don't remember.
I don't remember either, but I feel like it was just the Paramount logo. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I just feel like it was the Paramount logo and that was it, which maybe there was like Hasbro Presents at some point, like in the opening credits. I just feel like it was a little more toned down than
Janus
this one.
Films.
Yeah, this one's like Hasbro Presents. Janus Films, Criterion. Yeah, it starts with the C. Yeah, it's definitely not that kind of movie. Like, don't expect like a masterpiece from this. And,
no.
Like I saw it just on a whim in IMAX, and I had fun with it, honestly. But I have a lot of criticisms with it as well. I don't really hate this film either. I definitely prefer it to the Michael Bay ones, which are just kind of like, not to be hyperbolic, like just like racist trash.
Unbearable. The second one, Revenge of the Fallen, that's one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not exaggerating.
Probably for me
it's
as
terrible.
well. It's like a 2.5 hour movie with like no fucking plot.
Yeah, it's like banging your head against the wall for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it's like sticking your nuts with a fork for 2 hours or 2.5 hours.
It sounds painful, but so is the
That's
movie.
what it was.
You know,
It
I've
was
seen
painful.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you out. Like I've seen arguments that as bad as like those. I think you mentioned this too. Like as bad as those Transformers movies were, like at least Michael Bay expressed himself as a director, but and that's fine.
Yeah,
if
that's
you
kind of
feel
like
that
how
way.
I feel.
But like my argument is like even if it's chef's creative, if I keep getting food poisoning, I'm not gonna come back.
That's true too. And that's like with this one, it plays it way more safe.
Yeah.
And it makes it way more digestible. But I do kind of also miss some Michael Bay fucking craziness as well. I wish there was like some way to balance it.
Yeah, it's just like the craziness was just insufferable to me. Not to mention like the gratuitous and like endless comic relief, like all those like characters, like John Malkovich and the third. I didn't even see like you saw like the fourth and the fifth.
Yeah.
It's like Stanley Tucci and
Francis
like
McDormand.
yeah, Rainn Wilson. Like it's like all these fucking characters.
Yeah, Shia
like,
LaBeouf's parents in the movies is like terrible. Like Revenge of the Fallen. He's like on pop brownies. Like again, like this is made to sell toys, and you're throwing like pot brownies and like all kinds of like vulgar, like fratty, immature humor.
yeah, it's very cynical.
Yeah, like I'm gonna hit the enemy's scrotum. Yeah, like you have John
Turturro,
this amazing
yeah.
actors saying like fucking garbage dialogue, like hit the enemy in the scrotum, and it's like it's just not funny. Like it's okay like not take yourself seriously as an actor or whatever.
But it's just not funny. And then like the thing in the third one, like Ken Jeong's character, he had like what was it, like a tape recorder. It was like he had it on his underwear. He's like putting it in Shia LaBeouf's face. Like this is fucking trash.
Yeah,
not that like I'm Mr. Highbrow. I like to
Yeah.
laugh. I enjoy comedies,
Right.
but like this is just so annoying.
It's just made to look like he's like blowing him in the bathroom stall or something. That's the
Yeah.
joke of the scene. It's like Jesus Christ, this is it's terrible. It's awful humor. The third one, I think I rewatched it recently, hoping it would be better than the second one. But that movie's it's so long.
It's really
it has
long.
parts that are okay, like when the building's falling down. Like that's a well done set piece. That's what I mean when I'm like, oh, there's like a flicker of like creativity in this scene. But it's just like you gotta wait like 2 hours to get there.
Yeah.
And it's like 2 hours of like horrible shit. Like
Yeah.
horrible humor and horrible jokes that are just like, and they're just so like misogynist and like
yeah.
like just women
Mean-headed.
like Megan Fox like left the franchise basically because I don't like how Michael Bay shoots women. I don't like, and then and everyone was giving her shit for it, but then the way he shoots Rosie Huntington Wheatley in the third one's like even worse. Like it's like it's like a shot from like under her dress. You see like her panties, and it's like you had to like open a sewer lid to like get that fucking shot. It's like the amount of work he puts into just making like things that just make no sense and to drag the movie down. It's like I can't believe no one reined him in honestly for those.
Yeah, I think it's strange. I just don't see the benefit of like making those movies just so long.
Yeah.
And but you could maybe some people feel the Avengers movies are too long. At least you could argue that they have like dozens of characters and much more like intricate plot lines.
Yeah.
As opposed to this robots come to Earth.
And you can't tell any of them apart. Like they're all like silver. Like aside from Bumblebee and Optimus Prime, like Optimus Prime's blue and Bumblebee's yellow, so you can like kind of tell it. But the rest of them are like silver,
bunch of gears,
pointy, like steel. Like it just all looks
oil.
You can't really tell them apart at all, really. And again, like this movie fixes that in some way.
It's a little more coherent. In terms of the
I like
action.
that there's a new Autobot or new Autobot characters and new robot characters that they introduce, like Mirage. It's not just like Bumblebee again. It's like, okay, we have Mirage now. He's a new character that you can follow.
Sure.
But at the same time, it's like too far in the other direction where it plays everything way too safe, and it's just kind of bland ultimately. The movie really started to lose me with like the last act, and it just becomes like a big fight scene in a field with like Autobots fighting whatever bad Transformers, and it's it's like Avengers Endgame where they collide in the field. It's like that same shot even where they all like go together. This is like the same thing in Attack of the Clones. All the Jedi meeting all the droids.
It's a big.
It's like how many times
swarm.
how many times are we gonna see this shit? I mean, really, it's like so played out. It goes on way too long.
Yeah.
Anthony Ramos becomes
like Iron Man.
right. If he's able to fight a Transformer that's like 10 times the size of him in a robot suit, and
I think this is true of the other movies too. Like there's a gag, like Bumblebee himself can't talk, so it's like a bunch of movie quotes. I don't think it's funny. Like
No.
it just irritates me.
It gets played out, really.
Yeah.
And then the first Michael Bay Transformer movie, he fixes his voice at the end of it. And then in the second one, they're like, oh, no, it doesn't work anymore, his voice. Like, why? Like, didn't you write at the end that he has the voice? I would have preferred that. But yeah, Bumblebee dies, and then the whole movie is about, like, oh, we could bring Bumblebee back to life if we, like, take the key and do something with it. And I guess it kind of works out, but it also doesn't. Because, like, I think there's, like, some kind of explosion or something that makes Bumblebee come back to life. There's, like, a shockwave sense across, like, the planet. But they aren't able to, like, use the key to, like, save their planet, Cybertron, which I think they also wanted to use it for.
So it's kind of like one or the other.
It was like a bittersweet kind of thing. Like, we saved Bumblebee, but we couldn't save our planet.
I could give two shits, to be honest. But that's basically what happened.
But what was so funny about it is, like, a lot of the characters that die just come back to life, like Bumblebee. But then the Michelle Yeoh bird character gets killed. And, like, no, she's dead. Like, there's no bringing her back. She's just gone.
K.O.
It's pretty funny.
Because you think, the Pete Davidson character is dead, too, on one point, but then he's just fine. So he, like, kind of, like, transfers his machinery to the Anthony Ramos character so he can defeat the...
Yeah, exactly. And then, like, one of the post-credit scenes is, like, they rebuild Mirage, like, in their garage. I don't know if you stayed around for that part.
I think I saw that.
Yeah. So they, like, fix Mirage at the end. So Mirage is fine. But yeah, Michelle Yeoh, no, you're out. You're gone. Sorry.
That's it.
Dead.
And we should, do you want to discuss the ending? Like, the flash scene before the credits?
The funniest part of the movie.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he saves the Transformers or whatever. He goes back to finding a security job. Yeah. And he goes to, like, I guess this warehouse or something, and he goes inside, and in there is Michael Kelly or Mike Kelly.
Michael Kelly, yeah, was on The Sopranos.
He's in House of Cards.
Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, so he comes in, he's like, look, we know what you did with the Transformers, all right? We know that you worked with Optimus Prime, and, you know, you don't have to say anything, but you should come work for us. And Anthony Ramos is like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're saying. And Michael Kelly's like, sure. But just so you know, we're going to pay for all of your brother's health care.
Wow, yeah.
For the rest of his life, you're all set, right? And then he goes to, like, this painting, and he, like, pulls it, and there's the whole wall opens up, and it's like a fucking hangar bay with, like, planes and all kinds of, like, futuristic equipment. Yeah. And he, like, goes down the elevator shaft, and he's like, just let us know, give us a call.
He gives him a card.
Yeah, he gives him a card that has no phone number on it or anything. So, like, I don't know how he's gonna call him, but he says, like, give us a call. And he takes the card, and the card says G.I. Joe. Whoa. And he even says G.I. Joe, and then the movie cuts off, and, you know, during this scene, there's a guy behind me freaking out. like the second Michael Kelly shows up, he's like, no way. I'm like, how does this guy know who is this guy? Is he, like, does he work for Nest, which is, like, established in the Michael Bay movies? They're, like, the guys who fight Transformers. But it's G.I. Joe, which is basically the last thing I expected.
It's like S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, it's like an Avengers kind of thing. Like,
we want you to join our team, Tony Stark.
Except it's just some guy who, like, worked with Transformers.
Yeah, I guess they want to, do a crossover. I never saw those G.I. Joe movies with, like, Channing Tatum, but I guess they want to make more of those.
I think this is a new thing. I was thinking,
would think so.
There was like a G.I. Joe movie a couple years ago called Snake Eyes. I was wondering.
Oh, yeah.
I was wondering if Michael Kelly was in that, and that's why the guy was freaking out about it behind me. But I guess maybe that guy's just much smarter than me, and he knew what was going to happen. He predicted it, or maybe he, like, read up on it before.
Maybe this is his second viewing.
Yeah, right. He was, like, freaking out about it. Like, oh man, who is this guy? And it's G.I. Joe. Like, the last fucking thing I expected to happen. I was like, wow.
Good thing it wasn't G.I. Jane. People get upset when you mention G.I.
Oh, yeah.
Jane.
You're going to get slapped by Will Smith. Keep Bumblebee's name out your fucking mouth. Yeah, that was fucking shocking. Like
That was kind of silly.
that kind of dragged the movie down for me, but at the same time, it was the most memorable scene.
It probably yeah, because the rest of the movie was kind of just like in one ear out the other for me.
Right.
But yeah, I definitely remember that part.
That was it was pretty fucking funny. I was laughing about that for like days after. Like the people I saw was like, yeah, that was for G.I. Joe.
Well, I wasn't expecting it.
No, I'm glad you had the fresh experience of seeing that for the first time.
Yeah, I went to
It's
see
so
it.
silly.
This is a side note. Like I saw it with my dad, like at 9:30, and on a Wednesday night, there were a lot of kids there. It seemed like a little late to be bringing kids to a 2-hour movie. That's just me.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, they seemed a little restless. Maybe if you bring them early in the day, I don't think there was too much.
Was it 2 hours?
Yeah, it's 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's like too much like crazy stuff though.
It was kind of short, I thought. Like,
You thought it was, what? You mean the movie?
I just mean like it's shorter than The Flash, which I'll give it plus.
Sure,
for
I'm just
that.
saying that's a little late for
yeah,
school
sure.
night.
I probably like The Flash like a little more.
I
Maybe.
think I did too.
Yeah.
because they were like more. It was like
Yeah.
like a little more interesting and
Yeah.
like you said, like about the origin story. But this is just like another Transformers movie, albeit more bearable than some of the other installments.
Yeah, it's definitely better than like Transformers 2, right?
Yes,
Like
yeah.
the last night where like Anthony Hopkins is embarrassing himself saying terrible dialogue. Oh my God, Cybertron is coming. Yeah, but at the same time,
it's
like,
tolerable.
It's
yeah,
the word for it is like
bearable.
which is all I can expect from a Transformers movie at this point. I expected it to be fucking awful, and it wasn't. It was actually like, oh, it's okay, I guess. And if you're looking for something to see in IMAX, I mean, now I think The Flash replaced it in IMAX.
And again, there are better movies still out, like Spider-Verse 2 and Guardians, and we'll be getting like Asteroid City. I'm sure that'll be good.
Yeah, with like so much competition out there right now, I could say like, if you're a Transformers fan, you're a little kid, you can check it out. Like again, I don't really care what you like. If you like it, fine. I honestly don't think it's a bad movie for like kids or like families to watch.
Nah,
There's
I
nothing
don't think-
offensively stupid.
Not like anything in particular.
Yeah.
nothing too
There was no
jarring.
moment I was like, yeah, why are they eating pop brownies?
Why are we looking at a Transformers? Scrotum?
Yeah, why are we looking at a woman's crotch? For like, yeah.
There was no. What was the thing? I never saw the fourth one, but you told me about like the Romeo and
The
Juliet
Romeo and
clause.
Juliet clause, yeah, like, oh, she was 17, but it's fun. Yeah, the guy from Midsommar is like, yeah, he's in the bear suit.
Yeah.
It's a better movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, oh yeah, I met her when she was like 17, but it's okay, because I'm like, what? the
That's
fuck?
really dumb.
Yeah, and there's like a close up on her ass in one scene.
to go from last year, but
Yeah. Nicole
Peltz.
Yeah.
Nicola Peltz.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are odd decisions made, and I was like reading a Reddit thread, like who? It's like on the Transformers Reddit or whatever. Like who is the best protagonist? Is it Shia LaBeouf? Is Sam Witwicky? Is it Mark Wahlberg? Is it Anthony Ramos? I'm like, does anyone really care about like these human
I hate
characters?
Sam Witwicky. Fuck that guy.
He's annoying. But does anyone really care about these characters, or are you all just there to see like a bunch of robots fight? Because I thought that's like why we were all here.
You would think so.
Yeah, and at least like this movie like understands that, and that's like just like a dumb like children's film, and it plays to its strengths, I guess. And yeah,
To a degree.
I do kind of miss the crazy action scenes, and to a certain extent, maybe some like a little more personality would have worked for it. Maybe that's why people like Bumblebee, because like Travis Knight made it like a more of a family film, or something like the Iron Giant. Maybe it's not as good of a film as that.
Yeah, sure.
But it's about like the bond between this Haley Steinfeld character and Bumblebee, and that kind of works. And I can see why kids would like it. I just felt like there wasn't a lot of action in that one. That kind of dragged it down. It was like kind of boring. And they mentioned Haley Steinfeld in this one, like a one-off line. Like Optimus is like, I know you like that girl who took care of you that one time, but she's busy being in other better movies now, so you're gonna have to deal with it. They could have given her the card to G.I. Joe. Maybe they will. In the next film, because they're making Transformers 1, I think it's called. That's going to be the next one. I think it's coming out next year.
Wow,
it's called Transformers 1. I don't know.
It's like the thing with the movie The First Purge. Like,
yeah.
It's just like an Abbott and Costello routine trying to...
That's like it's a marketing gimmick. Like there's the Xbox 1, and there's like Mortal Kombat 1, and there's Battlefield 1. It's like another way to name something to make you think it's like original.
We're one, but we're not the same.
Yeah. Well, we're not, Transformers 8, we're Transformers 1.
Is this the 8th?
It could be. I don't even fucking know anymore.
I guess it's the 7th. I know there's like the animated one in the 80s, but there, Michael Bay did 5, and there's Bumblebee. So yeah, I guess this is the 7th.
7th one. 2.5 stars for this one.
Yeah, 5 out of 10. Yeah, it's about, yeah.
This is from Greenhood 300. Do you think World War II movies are now hard to make interesting now? Do you think the general audiences are tired of them? What's the last recent World War II movie you've liked or even found interesting? I honestly hope they adapt this book series called World War by Harry Turtledove, which is where lizard aliens invade during World War II. It basically has a Game of Thrones vibe to it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What was it called?
It
was about lizards?
Yeah, it's called World War. It's like one word.
World War. Okay.
Yeah. That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's like I think what he's trying to say is there's like a lot of war movies about World War II, and there's like a lot of really great ones. Saving Private Ryan. Come
and See.
Yeah.
Thin Red Line.
The Great Escape.
Yeah.
Right, and it's like they've
Schindler's
covered
List.
like every angle of it,
Yeah.
So it's like it's hard as a recent war movie about World War II to kind of stand out. That was one of my complaints with like 19 the one by Sam Mendes.
That's World War One, but yeah.
Oh,
1917.
It's kind of like they don't blend together.
How about let's say war movies in general?
Yeah, sure. I feel like really good ones like Dunkirk.
Yeah, that was
really
great.
Stands out to me. Yeah, that's like a really great one. He brought like a lot of style to it. But yeah, it is kind of like far and few between to find a really great World War II movie that stands out. Like I thought Fury was okay.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say it's
decent.
great.
Yeah.
It's better than Suicide Squad for,
Yes,
for David Ayer. And yeah, there was like that All Quiet on the Western Front.
Yeah,
last year.
that was World War One, but I know people like that one. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I just kind of felt like it was a chore a bit, just because it just follows like the regular. Yeah, we've seen a lot of war movies at this point.
It feels like those. It's like in 1917. It's like they make it about World War One because World War II has been so overdone.
Yeah,
but it's like kind of exploring like the same things.
Yeah, so, like. Paths of Glory. That's like the what do you call like the bellwether like war movies. Like like it's so simple and it's storytelling. Like all these, but it's done with like such grace and I think it could be. I think I really like Dunkirk too, and I think it helped that it had like a unique spin on the story. Like people complain like, oh, you don't know anything about the soldier. Like, well, that's kind of like what I liked about because they don't really know much about each other either. They just see like,
in
these
Dunkirk,
kids. They're thrown.
I always criticize like war movies, even like modern day war movies, where they have to like take out the photo of their family and like look at it in like a scene or have to talk.
That happens in All Quiet on the Western Front.
Yeah. Or it's like where it's so sentimental. Like Tom Hardy, I think in Dunkirk has like a picture of his family, but it's like on like the cockpit like side, like you see it, but it's not like a big deal about it, right? And because I feel like that's kind of corny. I'd prefer knowing less about the characters or whatever, because that makes it like I just feel like it's so cliche now. It's such like a forced way to get you to care about someone. When really, like, a war situation is so empathetic as an audience member because it's, like, so, stressful, like, to a character. I don't even feel you really need that, you know? Because it's just, like, it's already, like, horrifying. Like, I already empathize with people in, like, that kind of situation. You know? It's scary, right? So, I think it is kind of hard to stand out. I can't really think of any recent ones other than Dunkirk that I've, like, really loved.
Yeah.
That's like a great one, but it's kind of hard to stand out. And, Dunkirk's music is great, like groundbreaking in that way.
Yeah, just like the story. I really like the non chronological order to the events of the story, and I think it's kind of like similar with like with like gangster movies because we mentioned you did your video on Gotti and like I think something like The Irishman that stands out because again it's like focusing on like. Being an aging gangster and it's just like with anything you want to try to find like a new spin not that you like that can't be any like similarities to previous movies like but you want to like stand out. I mean that one sounds it's like mentioning lizards it's like Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I would prefer that. Like, make it more silly. What's that one where it's like zombies?
World War Z.
Well, no, not World War Z. It's like World War II
Oh,
zombies.
Overlord.
Yeah,
I didn't
Overlord.
see that. Yeah.
It was okay.
Yeah.
But it's like very silly and whatever. But at least it's not like war is hell again in World War II. Like we already have those movies. Like Saving Private Ryan did it about as good as you can do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like Dunkirk's very like restrained in that way. It's not like bloody. It doesn't really even focus on like the German soldiers at all. Like you don't see them in the movie. It's about like the almost their own like kind of struggles, like dealing with each other and dealing with the paranoia and the claustrophobia and the fear of dying. That's like more interesting to explore because that's not there's other movies that don't focus on that really, or it's just like one part of it. But Chris Nolan really like delved into that. Like you're almost your own worst enemy in that situation because you're fearful of like what could happen, and
Yeah, it's overwhelming. The spectacle. Or something like like Thin Red Line. It's not really about like heroics. It's just kind of acknowledging like your place in the like in the world, and like these things are like so much bigger than this like petty conflicts, and
you can say that about Vietnam movies too.
Yeah.
It's like hard to stand out in that way. I really love like the Ken Burns documentary about Vietnam with the score by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Like that was great. It's that documentary, but like there's so many great Vietnam movies. It's like hard to top. Like I don't think they've topped them in like decades, like Platoon and Apocalypse Now.
Full
Metal Jacket, right?
Diana.
Like those are so great. Like what else can you even do to top that? And there's an answer. It just needs time and real dedication. Maybe they need to add lizards to the Vietnam War.
Or, maybe they'll delve into other conflicts. Like the Hurt Locker is a great movie, and that's it's about much more recent.
It's like modern warfare, right? Like the Call of Duty game, Modern Warfare.
Yeah.
Or Black Hawk Down.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess that's good. Thanks for watching, everybody. Stay safe out there. Watch out for Ezra Miller.
And for The Rise of the Beast.
And for Pete Davidson.
As Mirage.